Welcome to Find Myself Free, the podcast. I'm Ellie Young, alcohol-free life coach, mom, and athlete. I'm dedicated to helping others change their relationship to alcohol by sharing my journey of transformation. Fascinated by my own capacity for change after decades of gray area drinking, I'm passionate about sharing what I've learned from neuroscience and positive psychology to help you break free from the drinking cycle and unlock your true potential. Hear my personal stories of triumph and struggle as I navigate raising two boys, finding myself after 40, building a business, and doing it all alcohol free. From women's health and cycle syncing to fasting and biohacking, this podcast is your roadmap to a healthier, purpose filled life that starts with changing your relationship to alcohol. It's time to embrace change, find balance, and create the life you were meant for. Welcome to Find Myself Free. Hey, everybody. Before we get to the show, I wanted to invite you to check out my new free resource. It's called Breaking Up with Booze. Check out the link in my show notes. But essentially, this is just a free guide where I break down the two most common beliefs that are keeping women stuck in the drinking cycle. Now, I know what you need. You want to feel confident socializing alcohol-free. You want to be able to manage your stress, but without the crutch of alcohol. And ultimately, we all want to experience joy and connection without the hangover. So this is a completely free resource that you should check out, Breaking Up with Booze, because I know you are finally ready to level up your health. So check it out today. Head on over to my show notes and get the link. I hope to see you there. What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. And today's podcast episode is being on the edge of transformation. So a lot of you have just wrapped up dry January. You're into your first weekend now of February. And maybe you're like, I did it. I did dry January. Now I want to, celebrate with alcohol, right? And I don't know how that feels for you, but I didn't make it through my first dry January. And so I'm actually going to take you a trip down memory lane to 4 years ago when I had just failed my first dry January. And, I failed in the sense that I drank 9 times. And so February rolled around and I was still trying because I had had these little glimmers of feeling better. And I knew I was onto something, but I was stuck in the moderation battle, the endless negotiations, the endless conversations about would I or would I not drink tonight, and all the rules I was making for myself. And then still not really enjoying myself when I did drink because I was really, really hyper aware of negotiating like how many drinks I was going to have and when I needed to stop. I couldn't let go of control. I couldn't relax into the drink, which was what I was after, right? Ultimately, I was trying to be like, this is your reward. You deserve this at the end of the week. You get to have these 2 drinks. And it was so exhausting. And I didn't know it at the time. But by not giving up after dry January and just slipping back into my old patterns, I was giving myself another chance. I was allowing another shift to take place in my brain. And granted, I did things differently in February. And so I want to take you through all the things that really started to add up to real transformational change. In the month of January, I didn't do anything other than try to white knuckle my way through it. And, that's an interesting term, right? White knuckling. I hadn't even learned what that meant until I started reading Quit Lit. Quit Lit is a nickname for quit literature. These are books about like sobriety, about the journey to sobriety. And there's a huge industry and genre that you can explore here. Some are better than others, right? Some will resonate more with you than others. But I had not gotten into that yet. And it wasn't until February. Actually, no, I think it was towards the end of January, someone had given me Quit Like a Woman. It was the same friend, actually, and she is still also alcohol free. And she's like a couple weeks ahead of me in her timeline and she was like, I read this book. You should try it. And that was Holly Whitaker. And that book just kind of pissed me off and made me angry. But her story was also pretty dark and pretty heavy-handed, and so I didn't relate to it as much. Annie Grace's book, the next one I read, This Naked Mind, this one was so pivotal to me and my change because I was reading it on the day that I drank my last drink, right? So I'm going to take you back to that moment there. But this is really what changed for me and from dry January into February when the shift started to happen. It was that I was actually not showing up in the same way, not just doing everything being like, okay, I'm only going to have these drinks and, in that willpower battle, in that shame battle, still feeling hungover and still just it consuming so much of my brain space, right? And I was just constantly in this like struggle. And the thing is like that that also became very, very shameful, right? Because it's like, okay, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not a fall down drunk. I'm not, somebody who like looks this part of somebody who's like, oh, this person really needs to stop drinking, right? Yet it was consuming so much of my brain space. So I was so at odds with the amount of effort it was taking to just stay aligned with what I wanted to do, with who I wanted to be, right? It was so at odds with me. But I kept thinking, why is this substance? I still believed that it had a benefit and I still believed that I was sacrificing something. And those are the beliefs that eventually shifted for me upon getting this new information and upon hiring a coach and putting this type of work into it. This was the difference maker for me. And it started in February. Again, I was still drinking on the weekends. I would go the 4 or 5 weekdays, get to the weekend, and then I would allow myself a couple drinks. I think at one point in February as well, there was a random hot beach day here. Yeah, I live in Southern California, and sometimes we have these just random hot days all of a sudden where it feels like summer in the middle of February. And so everybody was at the beach. And to me, the ultimate trigger for drinking is day drinking at the beach. Like it's just like it's a beautiful day. Um, and I just thought, okay, I didn't drink all week and I haven't been drinking most of January, but that little trigger of like, oh, it's a beach day. I went into my normal drinking volume for that day, which was like taking a shot of tequila before I even got to the beach, probably at like noon, packing a bunch of like roadies, which for me, okay, this is how ridiculous I was, you guys. I was very healthy. I would take Cavitas, which was a kombucha that was mojito flavored, and I would drink the bottle down about a quarter of the way, and then I would fill it back up with Bacardi. So if anybody at first glance saw me, I looked like I was drinking a Cavita, like a kombucha, which to me also felt like I was a little more undercover at the beach, that I wasn't just always boozing, right? Um, and so it was like my mojito. And I would drink, sometimes I would pack 2 of these. And there'd be also other people were day drinking at the beach, but I was always way ahead. I was just definitely ahead. Um, and that afternoon, we got home. I was probably pretty sloppy. I made a sloppy dinner. I think I might have kept drinking. I don't recall. But I woke up the next day. I think even parts of the evening were fuzzy, blackouty, and I woke up the next day with one of the all-time worst hangovers of my life. So this was in February. This was literally probably like 10 days before I had my last drink ever. So this idea that I had built some type of moderation muscle in dry January, or that I had somehow learned anything, it out the door. The fact that this could still randomly happen to me for no reason at all. I wasn't angrily drinking. I wasn't drinking to cope. I was just like, cool, I've made it a week. I'm going to go drink at the beach. And like, why? Why did I do that to myself? That was so not who I was, or so not who I wanted to be. And the fact that that was always just this like variable for me with alcohol was just devastating. And again, the shame I was internalizing, like something's wrong with me. Is this in my family? Which yes, it is. And, I thought, God, like, uh, how do I get a grip on this type of thing? And again, we went on vacation, and It was our ski week, which again, we're about to hit our ski week next week. So this moment in time is so visceral for me because I remember what I felt like in those very moments. And it was, we were going on ski week. We were going up to this cabin in Big Bear with this our best friends, this family we love, and our kids are friends. And it was just this great family trip. We're all staying in a big cabin together. We roll into this cabin. Again, I'd made it the whole week without drinking. It was a Thursday, so it wasn't even the whole week. And everybody starts drinking as we got to the cabin. They started hot tubbing. And I was so uncomfortable because I wanted to relax and let loose into the vacation. Again, another highly triggering environment, vacation, where you think like, I want to reward myself. This is what I do, right? But I had been coming off that bad hangover from the last weekend. And I get there and I'm like, I'm not going to drink. And then eventually I was like, okay, everyone's drinking. I'm going to just have one glass of champagne. One glass of champagne turned into two. And then I tried to cut myself off. I was like, I'm going to stay busy. I'm going to work in the kitchen. But like we had hours into this evening and everyone was still drinking. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have a third glass of champagne. So at this point, I've almost finished off my own bottle of champagne. And the next morning, I woke up again, not at all drunk, not at all buzzed, not even blacked out. The next morning, I woke up with a monumental headache, like just a migraine. I think at the time I didn't realize that I was getting migraines. I thought they were just hangover headaches, which they were. They were triggered, obviously, from the alcohol. But I'm talking debilitating migraine. And I'm on vacation in the snow with my family. We're supposed to be going sledding and doing all these crazy things, like fun activities with the kids, where I'm like supposed to be highly involved. And I felt awful. I felt absolutely awful. And I was like, how did this happen again, when I was trying so hard to moderate? I was trying, and again, it didn't seem bad. Like there was no bad action in there that I could be like, why is this? The amount of shame I felt from the self-sabotage, that I was like, I was doing this to myself. And I went for a long walk with my dog and I started listening to This Naked Mind in my AirPods, which is Annie Grace's famous book. And it's actually the program that I am now certified in as an alcohol-free life coach. Little did I know that would be the last day I ever drank. And again, it took all these trials and errors. It took me failing dry January. It took that awful hangover at the beach. It took the awful headache on vacation to build, again, this space in my brain that was like, you don't want that anymore. And this myth that you should be able to moderate, that there's a way to thread the needle and that you can feel fine and that you can control the level that you drink, and all these moments, all these opportunities in your life where alcohol is going to be an option, and that you're going to be able to be like, for the rest of your life, be like, I choose not to drink tonight, and I choose to drink at this occasion, and I'm only going to have the right amount, and I'm not going to self-sabotage. I'm not going to feel like shit. It's way too many variables. And again, it's a myth. It's a myth that there's a right amount of alcohol that you can drink. Now, a lot of people will disagree with me here and say like, well, I can moderate. I have no problem there. And, I don't have any shame and I don't have any, I think that's great. And I'm great that that's your relationship with alcohol. I would beg to question how much of an impact you believe it's actually having on your health. Like maybe you don't realize how much it's impacting your hormone health, your sleep health, and how much better you can feel. And that where push comes to shove is when you actually do say, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a 30-day break and see how that feels, and watch all the different ways in which your brain tries to come up with reasons, tries to rationalize it, tries to negotiate with you and says, well, how about this one time? How about this one time? You will see there are countless reasons that your brain tries to rationalize why a drink is okay, right? And they're all going to sound safe. They're all going to sound benign. They're all going to be super normalized all around you, right? Because everybody's doing it. And so that is where the most friction comes, is that your entire life you've been convinced And all these beliefs sit in your subconscious, and we've never questioned them. We've never really challenged them. We've just accepted them as truths now. Like, you drink on these occasions. Super Bowl's coming up. Everybody's like, it's one of the biggest drinking holidays of the year. Can you believe that? Like a football game. Some people, that's one of their biggest triggers. Like, I can't go to a sporting event without wanting to drink. Like, how crazy is that? A sporting event. The fact that the alcohol industry has done such an amazing job of marrying alcohol to certain occasions in our life. I mean, again, that's just another thing to get really curious about. Watch the number of alcohol ads you're going to see over the Super Bowl. And I always point this out to my kids, like, what are they trying to sell you right now? There's like a Patron commercial right now that has these beautiful um, Latino people, and it's very luxury. They're wearing diamond beaded gowns, and it's very high end, wealthy, all the imagery is selling you this just luxe lifestyle and stuff. And then at the end, it's like Patron. And so I challenge my kids. I'm like, okay, look at this commercial. Like, what are they trying to sell you? It's literally alcohol, but what are they trying to convince you the vibe of this alcohol? And so they're like, oh yeah, richness and luxury and all these things. So it's a really interesting game to play. And the thing is, even when you are aware of these ads, and even when you can watch them and go, oh, they're trying to do this to me, it still is affecting you. It's still subconsciously getting in there. What you see, it just comes in and it influences you. So the work that I had not done yet, that I started to do and that I was taught to do with This Naked Mind, and now that this is what I train people to do, is to just start shining a light on that subconscious stuff. All of the reasons that you want to drink, right? And so one of the first things I have my clients do is we make two big lists. And the first list is all of the reasons you drink and all of the reasons you fear not drinking, right? And sometimes that one's a lot longer because you have all of this but what am I going to do instead? Here's a side story, you guys. My kids have been just over consuming YouTube, all the things. I know every parent struggles with this kind of stuff. Too much screens, too much screens. And I am just at my wit's end with mostly my 13-year-old who has a phone. My 11-year-old does not have a phone yet. But he watches it on his iPad. He watches YouTube on TV. It's just like a constant battle. So the 13-year-old really wants this e-bike, and it's a special one. And I've said no for a long time, and it's super expensive. I finally was like, you know what? You want that e-bike. I'm going to challenge you here. I'm like, you give up your phone. He only has his phone to text or communicate, basically. Phone calls, texting, that's it. We removed every game, all the things. And I said, let's see if you can do this for a week. Let's just try a week and see what happens to your brain. And if you can ultimately wean yourself off these things, I will consider getting you this e-bike, right? And we're going to try a week, and then we're going to try 2 weeks, and we're trying a month. See if he can literally cut YouTube, cut TikTok, all these things, and ultimately remove it from his life and free his brain. And it's so similar to the nature of giving up alcohol, right? It is so similar. He's stopping cold turkey, right? And he thinks he can do it. And he didn't realize how many times his brain was going to ping for that phone. He tries to use it when he goes to the bathroom. Every second he walks in the door, the second he gets out of school, he's just on his phone, on his phone, on his phone. That is so similar to how our brain pings for alcohol. All the different variety of occasions our brain is like, I'm going to drink, I'm going to drink, I'm going to drink. And it seems so safe, and it seems like it's the good life. That's the one that's the hardest for people, is they truly believe on some level they're giving up the joy to be, the best parts of life, right? And again, it's all romanticized with vacations and end of day and bonding with your girlfriend and bonding with your loved one and romance, right? This toxin. And we are, again, taught to believe that you can thread the needle and there's a right amount that you can enjoy. I love when people say everything in moderation, there's balance. Eat the cookie, eat the thing, yeah. That, I love that concept, except applying it to something that is addictive biochemically to your brain and convincing you that you should be able to easily moderate this stuff and that it shouldn't have any pull or control over you. That is a lie. What alcohol does to your brain is it takes you up with a huge boost of dopamine. Your brain course corrects with dynorphin because it doesn't like that out of balance state. Dynorphin is the opposite of endorphins. It makes you feel low. It makes you feel anxious, depressed, cranky. We don't recognize that as an aftermath of alcohol. We just see that as our buzz wearing off and we go get another drink. And then that cycle continues. More dynorphin, more dopamine up, dynorphin down, and eventually the slope just continues to go down, 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 down. That is the depressant effect of alcohol. And then your brain releases adrenaline and cortisol to counter for that low. So that's why you wake up at 3 a.m. with anxiety, or the next day you have major anxiety. This cycle lingers in your body for days. And the thing is, even if you're only drinking a couple days a week, your brain and body need more time than that to detox that out of your system and reset your pleasure circuits, reset your mental health. And if you're not, then you are endlessly on that and you remain in a chronically low dopamine state. In fact, a new study just came out that said alcohol actually rewires the brain to have less dopamine receptors so that it's actually more difficult to change your behavior, because dopamine isn't just a pleasure molecule. It is about learning and remembering. It releases it so that you remember something like, oh, I need to go back and do that again. That's from that caveman period where we found the raspberry bush. It tastes good. Our brain releases dopamine because it's like, remember what this berry looked like, remember where to find it so that we can come back and we can get this, because it was based on our survival. But now our worlds are so jacked up that we're able to have endless dopamine sources. With the phone, we're scrolling, we're tapping, we have crazy food that gives us just these artificial boosts. We have drugs, we have alcohol. And alcohol tricks our brain into thinking it needs it by releasing this artificial boost of dopamine. And over time, because the brain is like, whoa, that is too much, over time, it starts to shrink the amount of dopamine receptors in your brain. So your ability to learn new things and to change this new pattern and change this behavior becomes more and more difficult. So to all my clients out there listening who are having a really hard time changing this behavior, this is why. It is not you. It is the nature of alcohol and how it has affected your brain. Hands down. Not just your brain, everybody's brain. It does this to all human brains. People are not immune to this. I think I've shared with you this before, that in studies with mice, or I think rats or something, they can addict 100% of the rats to alcohol. First of all, rats will not drink it voluntarily because it's a toxin, right? So they actually had to force it. They had to force them. And then at some point, after enough frequency and enough volume, then they would willingly go drink the substance. Isn't that crazy? 100% of them could become addicted with enough frequency and enough volume, because that is what an addictive substance does to a brain. So it is not you. I am sure that there's cultural impacts. I am sure that there are genes that become more susceptible, but they have not proven an addictive gene. But what happens is, over time, given enough frequency, given enough volume, anyone can become addicted. And it's what the root of it is. The root is understanding why you drink. And if people don't want to go here, sometimes people will think they're only a fun drinker. I'm just a social drinker is what I hear a lot. I'm just a social drinker. I just only have it, when I drink. Well, why is that? Why, what is the reason driving that? Well, it's like, well, maybe I'm a little bit socially awkward. Maybe I have a little social anxiety. Maybe I feel left out if I'm not doing what everybody else is doing. Again, just questioning all that stuff and going, why do I think I need this substance to relax? Yes, there's a biochemical thing happening. It's quote unquote relaxing you by taking part of your brain offline. Your insecurities, right? A lot of people say, oh, it helps me come out of my shell. Guess what your insecurities are designed for? To keep you safe. right? To keep you from doing stupid shit, right? I love this. A lot of girls are like, well, I was so shy. I was so shy. And then, I started drinking and it helped me come out of my shell. Oh, and then it helped me in college to get, okay, this is extreme. I was about to like, say something bad, but it's like, yeah, it helps you overcome these parts of your brain that are built to protect you, like keep you safe, keep guys off you in college, and all the bad problems that happen there where girls are getting too drunk and ending up in awful situations and things like that. That that those defenses come down when alcohol is in the picture and you think it's helping you come out of your shell, but it's really just taking parts of your brain offline. And I did this for a long time, you guys. There's plenty of moments in college that I regret from alcohol. And, again, thinking that it's going to help me, How crazy is that, right? Like, how many messages do we have in our world that alcohol is the answer? Alcohol is going to help you. Like, I had a client the other day is like, oh, a really common one is like, I have anxiety before I fly. And it's totally like, oh, yeah, you should have a drink before you fly. My mom told me I should have a glass of wine before I met my boyfriend's parents in college because I was nervous. And I thought, oh, I don't drink wine. I was in college. I didn't drink wine. Why? Why would I? Like, it's party scene. And so this idea that as an adult, you drink because to calm your nerves, and that's okay. That's a safe and adult way to consume this beverage. So again, like, explore this in your self, explore all the ways alcohol has come to you over your life in all these ways that seem fine, right? And yet we haven't really examined what it's doing to our bodies, to our brains. And this is part of the education, the information that you need to get to start changing these things. And it's not just this, though. I think I talked about this before, but it's information is not going to just lead to your transformation. It's part of it. It's part of unwinding that subconscious programming, is getting new information that's going to challenge, that's going to push out these old beliefs about alcohol. And then you have to really start hacking the habit. You have to say, oh, well, I can't continue to put myself in these same environments that are going to cue my brain to do the same thing. We have to try to shape our environments, to put ourselves in new environments that aren't going to be so familiar to the brain, where it says, hey, this is a drinking environment, this is what you do here, right? Especially in the beginning, our brain, it's trying, you are consciously trying to change, but you are putting your brain in an environment where it's like, this is what we do, this is what we do here. And then you're asking your brain to do something different. All of a sudden you're asking it to flex this muscle that hasn't been built up yet. It hasn't strengthened, and you haven't given it enough information. You haven't given it strength in the subconscious to override this old pattern. And so that's the kind of work that we do here. And that is the kind of stuff that, like, it takes time. It takes a lot of intention, and you can't continue to show up and do what you're doing and expect you to be able to change your relationship to alcohol in a lasting way, right? A lot of people can make it pretty far on willpower and like discipline and stuff, but ultimately they're in a struggle because they're like, oh, I feel like I'm missing out, and I feel, their brain is still harboring a belief that there's a benefit to it. And you will know when you make the shift, when you no longer believe any benefits to alcohol, because all of a sudden the desire to drink just disappears. It's and Annie Grace jokes about it. She's like, I have no desire to drink alcohol like I have no desire to drink a cup of motor oil, right? Because you're like, why would I put that in my body? I don't want that. There's no part of my brain that believes there's anything good in that substance for me, right? So it's not hard. It's not hard to not drink a cup of motor oil, right? But that's the place you have to ultimately get to. And I know a lot of people struggle with this. Like I said, 4 years ago, I didn't know that was the last day I was going to drink ever, right? I had no idea. There was no goal of mine that was like, I'll never drink again. I still just wanted to land in this place where I thought that like it wasn't going to have any more power over me, that I could like control it, that I could only drink a few when I wanted to and I wouldn't be hungover. Like there'd be this right amount and I could romanticize the whole notion of it and like it just be this beautiful cultural sexy thing that I did. And it just didn't exist for me. It didn't. It consumed so much of my brain space that ultimately, when I got to the place where I didn't want it at all and I committed to not having it at all, it became so much easier. Once that door was completely closed for me, and again, I didn't fully consciously choose to close it. It was the information I was consuming, it was the work I was doing around questioning all these beliefs, these attachments to it, that really helped me go, I don't want that stuff. I don't want that stuff. And then it just became easy. It became easy. It became something I didn't think about. Did it still feel awkward? You bet, because our worlds are just so filled with alcohol. So there was so many awkward moments, but I didn't have any desire to drink. So that negotiating, that waffle zone where you're constantly like, I don't know, am I going to drink tonight? Am I going to drink this weekend? When you are even doubting yourself and questioning, it's like you're just cracking the door open and saying, okay, brain, come on. Let's see what reason you come up with for me to drink this weekend, right? It could be something bad happen. You're like, oh, okay, I got to drink. It could be something good happen. You want to celebrate, right? Oh, it could be the sun came out and it's beautiful. It could be your best friend had a hard day and wants to hang out and you need to talk to her. It could be your mom called you and she stressed you out and now you got to like drink for stress. Like it could be so many different reasons. And if you were just hoping and wishing and waiting for like, well, I really hope I don't drink tonight, but you're not doing any intentional work to set yourself up and saying, I know I don't want to drink this weekend. How do I tee up my environment? How do I tee up my brain? How do I take such good care of myself so that I don't get into this place where I want to self-medicate, right? And again, some of these words might be triggering for you. And again, even the word trigger can be triggering, right? Like, stop talking about trauma and stop talking about triggers. And it's like, but that is really the art of neuroplasticity. It's understanding your little program and taking a step back and observing it and being like, oh, of course. Of course, if I'm about to start my period and I had a stressful day at work and my kids have been sick and my husband and I are quarreling, I'm going to get to the end of my day and I'm going to feel like I want to self-medicate. There is no conscious thought I need to self-medicate. There's just like help me change this state of being. Help me get out of this discomfort that I'm in and feel something different, right? And for everybody, most most people that is alcohol. And for a lot of people when you stop drinking, it becomes food, it becomes overeating, it becomes sugar, it becomes carbs, right? That was me. That was definitely me for like a whole year, maybe a year and a half. Um and just recognizing this pattern and doing it without judgment, really just observing yourself and going, huh, okay, that makes sense. I see what happened there. Like, yeah, like you're watching yourself on the nature channel and just being like, oh, look at little Ellie. She got all stressed out and she decided to go overeat a bag of, you know, spicy uh, chips, which I do on occasion. Yep, I'm still in that place sometimes. So I get it. Like, but this is the game. This is the process. You can't give up, okay? Observing yourself and learning this stuff about yourself and then saying, "Okay, now I know when life gets hard, it's not time to give up. It's time to actually give more." And this February, you could be just on the edge of transformation and not even know it because maybe you think you haven't made enough progress, right? You're like, like I said, I did very little learning in my first dry January. I was just starting to read quit literature books. I had just picked up Annie Grace's This Naked Mind early February. And just like that, the switch was flipped and I never drank again. And again, that doesn't have to be your goal. But if you want to get to a place where up here in your brain, it is not a struggle anymore, and you can take it or leave it, and it doesn't impact the joy you experience in your life and your ability to relax. That exists. That is a real place you can get to where alcohol is just like this thing, and you're like, I don't participate in that because I got all this other stuff going on. This feels really good because I know how to really take care of myself now. All these other jobs I used to give alcohol, I've now found real things that actually help me feel better in all these different occasions, right? Oh, I need to relax. Like, I know what I need to do to relax now. Oh, I need to connect and feel joy. Like, I know what I need to do there. I do different things now. And it completely opens up your world and it completely changes your life, right? This is what I want for you. And I feel so much in this moment in time because it takes me back to those difficult, uncomfortable moments where I just felt stuck. I didn't know how to fully change. In hindsight now, I know that I was right on the edge. I was right on the edge of that transformation moment. And it was just staying in it. There wasn't this monumental thing like lightning cracking and opening up the sky and being like, oh, it was literally just staying in the work, staying in learning, keeping an open mind, staying in the discomfort just a little bit longer, enough to recognize, oh, this isn't so bad. I can do this. My entire life doesn't have to hinge on a substance, right? And some people cringe when I say that, like, I don't have that relationship. I'm not like that. I'm a social drinker. Okay, but how much of your life, how much of your social life, how much of your joy, how much of your connection, perhaps your artificial connection is coming from this substance? If I told you to not drink at Super Bowl, would that be uncomfortable for you? Right? Why? Like, yeah, I get why. But if you're in that place and you're like, God, I didn't know. I didn't know that maybe it's messing up my hormones. I didn't know it was messing up my sleep and my relationships and the way I'm showing up for my kids. This is how you start. Stay in that work, get the information, find a community, listen to podcasts, listen to content. I am here for you. If you want, dive into more of these podcasts because my Dry January series is awesome. It'll really help you. I have another Dry January series from last year that you can keep going through. Binge it, listen to it, surround yourself with that content. And if you're ready for more, if you're ready for a program that you want to do on your own, at your own pace, I have the Brave program. It is filled with the lessons that I needed to learn that come right from this naked mind that are going to help you plant those seeds of change and start to switch on the light in that subconscious and start to poke holes in all these things you thought were true about alcohol, right? And start to challenge it and start to go like, maybe that's not true. That's where the real change lives. And of course, if you're ready to work for the coach, you know where to find me. I've got 2 spots open for February, and I would love to work with you. You can hop on a free call with me just to see if we're a good fit and absolutely no strings attached. I don't want to work with somebody who doesn't 100% want to work with me, who isn't 100% like I am in. Doesn't mean you have to be confident it's going to work. Doesn't mean you're not awkward and scared and nervous, but you got to want this more than you fear it. You got to make time for it. You have to commit and you have to say, I am putting some skin in the game because I want this type of change for myself. I want to feel different in my relationship to alcohol. I know how that feels. I know how uncomfortable those moments are where you're just like, why can't I get a grip? Right? Why is this consuming so much of my brain space right now? I am with you. You got this. Have a great weekend. Until next time, I'll see you. Hey, you've just listened to an episode of Find Myself Free. And if some part of this left you wanting more, if your curiosity has been piqued and your intuition is telling you, I'm ready for more, then check out my coaching offers at findmyselffree.com. I have the Brave course to help you break free from booze. And I designed this course with the exact lessons that led to my transformation. I also have the balance challenge for those ready to learn the art of cycle syncing to balance their hormones. If you're looking for additional support and to take either of these programs to the next level, I also offer one-on-one coaching. Now, I worked with a coach for 4 months at the start of my alcohol free journey, and it made all the difference. Being able to talk to someone who knew what I was going through and could help me navigate my new world gave me a foundation of support I could build on. And it's a big reason why I'm a coach today. I want to help others find their freedom and level up their health. If this sounds good to you, connect with me at findmyselffree.com and set up a call. Listen to your intuition that is telling you you were meant for more. I am with you. You got this.